If you have ever heard someone say SQL Server and thought, wait, is that a language, a program, a database, or a box in a closet somewhere? Congratulations. You have found one of technology's more efficiently confusing names. SQL is a language. It is the language many databases understand when you want to ask for data, change data, create tables, or manage permissions. Microsoft SQL Server is a specific product from Microsoft, and more generally, a database server is software that sits between applications and stored data. Apps connect to it, ask it questions, request changes, and get results back. So today we are not doing a full SQL tutorial. We are answering a more basic question. What does an SQL server actually do, and how is that different from a local database sitting on your own machine? Once that clicks, the whole database world gets a little less foggy. Here's the mental model. A local database is like a notebook or file cabinet on your own desk. If you are the only person using it and the job is small, that can be perfect. An SQL server is more like a staffed records office. You do not walk into the back room and start rearranging folders yourself. You go to the counter and make a request. Show me all orders from this customer. Add this new appointment. Update this invoice, but only if I'm allowed to. The server checks who you are, understands the request, finds or changes the data, keeps other people from trampling over the same records at the same time, and sends back the result. That is the server part. It is not just storage. It is controlled access to shared data. At the plain English level, a database server does a handful of important jobs. First, it listens for connections from apps, websites, tools, scripts, and users. Second, it checks permissions. Not everyone should be able to see payroll, delete customers, or change prices. Third, it receives requests, usually written in SQL or a product-specific flavor of SQL. Fourth, it figures out how to answer those requests efficiently. That can involve query planning, indexes, cached data, and a lot of machinery you do not normally see. Fifth, it coordinates changes. If two people try to update related data at the same time, the server has to keep the data consistent. And sixth, it helps with the boring grown-up stuff: logs, backups, recovery, monitoring, and security. That boring stuff is exactly why businesses care about database servers. Boring is where the invoices live. This is where local databases enter the picture. SQLite is a good example of a local serverless database engine. The application reads and writes directly to a database file on disk. There is no separate server process sitting in the middle. That is a strength. It is simple, portable, and easy to use. For one person, one app, a small utility, a desktop project, or a phone app, a local database can be exactly right. But if lots of users or lots of applications need to work with the same data at the same time, the local file model starts to get awkward. Now you care about network connections, permissions, backups, conflict handling, monitoring, uptime. Recovering after something breaks, that is when a database server starts to make sense. The mistake is thinking one is automatically better than the other. They are built for different jobs. One of the big reasons database servers exist is consistency. Imagine an online store. When someone places an order, several things may need to happen. Create the order, reduce inventory, record payment status, add a shipping address. Those changes belong together. You do not want the order created but the inventory unchanged, or the payment recorded but the order missing. A transaction treats related work as one logical unit. Either all of it succeeds or the database rolls it back. Microsoft's SQL database engine documentation talks about ACID properties: atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Those words are a mouthful, but the everyday idea is simple. Do the whole thing correctly, or do not pretend it happened. That is one of the reasons serious systems do not just toss business data into random files and hope for the best. Another major job is controlled access. On a personal spreadsheet, the security model is often basically who has the file. That might be fine for a weekend project. It is not fine for a business system. A database server can decide who is allowed to connect, which databases they can see, what tables they can read, and whether they can insert, update, or delete data. That matters when the same system has admins, regular staff, reporting users, applications, and maybe outside services all touching the same data. The server becomes the bouncer at the door, ideally a very boring bouncer with excellent paperwork. The goal is not just to keep people out, it is to let the right people and applications do the right things without giving everyone the keys to everything. So where do SQL servers show up? Everywhere boring and important. Websites use database servers for users, posts, orders, comments, inventory, sessions, and settings. Business apps use them for customers, invoices, scheduling tickets, payroll, projects, and reporting. Internal tools use them when a team needs one shared source of truth instead of 7 spreadsheets with names like Final, Final2, and Final actually use this one. A creator workflow could use a database server if multiple tools or people need shared access to episode ideas, production status, assets, sponsors, or publishing dates. The point is not that everything needs a database server. The point is that when the data becomes shared, important, or connected to real workflows, the server starts earning its keep. The upside of a database server is not just size, it is coordination. You get one central place for important data. You can have multiple apps and users connect to it. You can control permissions. You can back it up. You can monitor it. You can tune it. You can use indexes to make common searches faster. You can build reports from it. And if it is designed well, you can make changes without everyone emailing copies of files back and forth like it is 2003 and the network drive is feeling dramatic. This is why systems like Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and MySQL exist. They are not just containers for data, they are management systems for data that other software depends on. Now, the catch. A database server is more machinery. Someone has to install it or pay for it as a managed service. Someone has to think about backups, updates, accounts, passwords, network access, monitoring, performance, and what happens when it goes down. And a server does not magically fix bad design. If your tables are a mess, your indexes are missing, your queries are terrible, or nobody tested the backup, the server will not sprinkle enterprise dust over the problem. For one person tracking a reading list, a database server is probably ridiculous. For a team running a business app, a local file on someone's laptop is probably terrifying. The right answer depends on the workflow and the risk. Here's the simple decision guide. Use a spreadsheet when the data is small, human edited, and the structure changes constantly. Use a local database when one app or one person needs structured storage without a lot of server administration. Use a database server when multiple people, multiple apps, permissions, reporting, backups, uptime, or consistency really matter. That is not a law. It is a starting point. The practical question is not, what is the most professional sounding tool? The practical question is, what is the simplest tool that protects the data and supports the workflow? Sometimes that is a spreadsheet, sometimes it is SQLite, sometimes it is PostgreSQL, MySQL, or Microsoft SQL Server. The grown-up answer is allowed to be boring. Let's make it concrete. Imagine a video production app wants this. Show me all videos marked ready to film. The app does not open the database files and start digging around. It sends a request to the database server. The server checks whether the app is allowed to ask. It figures out where the relevant rows live. It may use an index to avoid scanning everything. It returns just the rows that match. If someone updates a video's status at the same time, the server coordinates that too. That is the useful mental picture. Applications ask, the server manages, the data stays organized, you can learn SQL later. The first thing to understand is who is doing what. So what does an SQL server actually do? It runs as a database service. Applications connect to it. It receives SQL-style requests, checks permissions, coordinates multiple users, protects transactions, manages storage, helps with backups and recovery, and returns the data the application asked for. It is not the same thing as the SQL language. It is not automatically better than a local database, and it is definitely not something you add just because you want the project to sound more serious. Use a local database when local is enough. Use a database server when the data is shared, important, multi-user, or needs managed reliability. That is the useful distinction. Once you understand that, SQL servers stop sounding like mysterious enterprise furniture and start sounding like what they are: a controlled front desk for your data. And honestly, a lot of technology becomes less scary when you can picture the front desk.